Storm clouds could be heard and lightning could be seen flashing in the western sky, as the man in the rickety carriage glanced over his shoulder. The sound of whip could be heard as the horse galloped faster and faster. Beside him was a little girl, clinging to his arm as her eyes widened in fear. Then suddenly a scream was let out. Peter Rugg and his daughter, Jenny, have been trying to get home to Boston. For years after the American Revolution, many witnesses claimed to have seen the pair in all parts of New England. "Which way to Boston, my good man?" Rugg would ask to fellow travelers that he would come upon. The travelers always pointed the correct way, but Rugg always went in the opposite direction. Immediately after Rugg would run off, storms would always follow the travelers he questioned, drenching them and pelting them with hail. The child shivered in her thin cloak and pressed closer to her father. As they passed through many nameless villages, the townspeople would offer food and lodging. Rugg always shook his head. "Please, for the love of God, and for your child, we ask that you lodge for the night," the villagers pleaded. Rugg would then exclaim, "Must get to Boston tonight." The pair would then vanish before they left the villagers. A witness, who was a driver of the Portland Mail, claimed he met Rugg and his daughter in Newburyport, the great bay horse overtaking the driver with such speed that his own horses leapt from the road and caused his carriage to crash against a outcropping rock. "I saw Peter and his daughter glowing with fire, like a horseshoe does when taken from a blacksmith's hearth," the driver told his friends. At the very same time, there was flames and sparks coming from the mouth and ears of that huge horse, and I was almost choked by the smell of brimstone. I know that what I saw was the devil's shade of Peter Rugg. Who was Peter Rugg? Peter Rugg was a horse and cattle dealer. He was known to be a good-humored man who was good and fair at business deals and provided generous support to his family, but when crossed, he would show a violent temper. Rugg also had a loving wife and a 10-year-old daughter, Jenny. The family lived in Boston, on Middle Street, and was loved by neighbors. One fall day, Rugg had to go to Concord for business. He decided that he would take Jenny with him, as she loved the open air and he was taking the open-air carriage. They got settled and waved goodbye to his wife, none of them realizing that it would be the last time they saw each other. After Rugg had finished his business, Jenny alerted her father of the incoming storm, and Rugg told her not to worry as they will make it home before the storm. If only he knew how wrong he was. By the time they had reached West Cambridge, they were drenched, cold and hungry. Rugg stopped at Tom Cutler's place for a quick drink of rum, but soon left after Cutler suggested they too spend the night. Rugg yelled, "We will get home tonight or I may never see home again." He leapt onto the carriage, with poor Jenny sitting next to him, in thin wet clothes, and with that, he cracked the whip against the horse and they sped off. They never reached home. Searches were made, but sadly, the pair were never found. A year later, in May, Parson, a neighbor of the Ruggs, heard a carriage clattering over the cobblestones. He waited a few minutes, then went back to bed, thinking his MNFL was playing tricks on him, but he didn't fall asleep. Mr. Felt heard the noise and leaned out his window to see Peter and Jenny. They had a glow outlining them. Felt knew what that meant. They had finally come home. So he went back to sleep. But the next morning, the other neighbors had gathered in the streets, screaming with glee and relief that the Ruggs were home again. So they went to the Ruggs' home, knocked on the door, waiting to see Peter or Jenny open the door. Instead, Mrs. Rugg opened the door and asked what everyone was shouting about. When the neighbors told her, she was shocked and wondering how they forgot that Peter and Jenny haven't been seen or heard from in a year. When the widowed wife told them that Peter and Jenny weren't there, the crowd went quiet, some even turned white. Realizing they all saw the ghosts of Peter and Jenny, they went back home. 20 years went by, and the Rugg house was passed to a new owner. One day, when a knock was heard at the door of Rugg's home, when someone new opened the door, the man had asked for Mrs. Rugg. The new owner replied, "Mrs. Rugg is no longer here." And with that the man said, "So my wife, Catherine Rugg, has left her husband and daughter. How could she be so cruel?" The new homeowner was stunned, but was able to speak. "No, sir, Mrs. Rugg had died more than 20 years ago. She died of a broken heart, after her husband and child had disappeared, never to be seen again." The man yelled, "You're lying. I will find my wife. You must leave before I alert the authorities." He ran back to his carriage, which the owner could see that a little girl was sitting on it as well. But before the owner could get a good look, the pair had vanished. They say that you can still hear the cracking of the whip, Rugg yelling, Jenny screaming for her father to stop, but nothing to see. Maybe the Ruggs finally found peace. If so, I hope Mrs. Rugg was there to greet them home.